to episode 18. How's it going, Tom?
Very well. Yeah, it's good. I am in a different location today.
I can see. Looks like you're actually in school. You gone back to school?
I enjoyed school. I don't know. I wouldn't mind going back to school. When I think about
Be a bit
my
weird though.
wife did.
I think you're a bit old now, mate. You are
People say
very
that I
young
look younger.
looking, but I don't think you'd get
Say
in.
that again. No. You might get in trouble for that.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, let's focus back on what we're here.
Back on.
So episode 18. First of all, quite proud to get to it. 18 episodes, not bad, is it? Started this off not knowing where it'd go, and I think 18 is not bad. And then we're going to talk about it's getting harder to lose weight, and there may be some people listening to this that go, do you know what, that's rubbish. But I actually believe it's true, and we're going to give you some basis and some reasons behind it, right? Hopefully.
And it's as you get older, your body changes, and if you think about the kind of lots of people say to me when I was kind of 18 or in my 20s, and actually when I think back when I was that age, I could literally eat whatever I wanted, and I stayed the same weight. And I guess we're going to touch on maybe some of the reasons why back then I didn't. None of us really struggled.
Yeah, I think obviously the data shows it. You only have to Google why are we more overweight than we were in the 80s, and all the data be there. You only have to look at old photos. We know where we are, right? So this is nothing new. But what we're going to try and do is look at the reasons why that is, and also give you guys some strategies to help, because it's not impossible. It's possible. Loads of people lose weight and keep it off, but I do believe it's harder, and we're going to get into that. What are your thoughts on why it's harder right now? Or probably not even right now. Probably why it's probably built up to this stage in the last 10, 20 years.
I think the phrase that I heard a while back was an obesogenic environment. I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was about how our environment and our world around us is naturally leading us towards being heavier, being overweight, and because I think as humans we are excellent at holding on to weight, because evolutionary that's very, very important, because we wouldn't know where our next meal is coming from. Obviously now food is you can go in the shop and you can buy your food, but in evolutionary timescales that didn't happen. So I suppose we are just doing what is naturally we're very good at, which is conserving energy, not wasting it, and maintaining weight. I think in terms of what we do has changed. We're sat behind desks here, aren't we? If you think about us, maybe in a bit of a microcosm, us as personal trainers. When I was a personal trainer, I was in the gym and I was doing sessions for a few hours a day, and then I'd also use the gym as well. So I was active all the time. So now I'm not. So kind of part of I understand that my life has changed, and there's energy balance has shifted. So I think there were a lot more people worked different jobs. Kind of say the 80s, definitely things have changed.
Yeah, so I think environmental things have absolutely changed in terms of how we used to work in the 80s compared to today. And even like you say, for us, 5 years ago we were personal trainers. We was in the gym. We were delivering sessions, maybe teaching classes. Now, we're online coaches, behavior change coaches, and mindset, and that's over a computer. So that's changed for a lot of people. And I think, and this is what surprised you, right? Even before we come on, that especially for men, the testosterone levels have dropped 1%, which is massive, since the 80s. So every year, we lose 1% of testosterone since the 80s. So our dads in the 80s had way higher levels of testosterone than us. And what's dangerous about that is that, it's much harder to actually lose weight when you've got lower testosterone, because your strength, you're losing strength, slows down your metabolism. You're more likely to gain weight, and then if you gain weight, your testosterone goes down even lower, your metabolism slows down. So I think that's a huge factor that I don't think people potentially think about it as much.
No, and it's. I mean, I'm not a medical professional or a scientist. And in terms of testosterone, I understand the basics of how it works, and partly it's my job to know more about it. So I imagine the confusion or not knowing about it is perfectly normal for the day-to-day guy.
Yeah,
To
yeah. Why would you?
yeah,
You're not exactly you don't pop into work on Monday and go, all right, Tom, how's your testosterone today?
Well, it's a bit low.
It's not a normal conversation, is it?
No, but I'm aware that that low testosterone is being pushed more as a problem. I've noticed that on some of the supplement sites, I buy peanut butter from a particular one.
Yeah,
they're like a testosterone booster. They're selling it now.
They're becoming way more popular. Way more popular. Because the thing is, as well, that can also have an impact on low mood as well, because it affects your energy levels. So you're not going to have to get up and go in the, like, if you think about testosterone as like the vigor, to lift the weights, to move your body, I always think about it like in that way, so your energy is going to be low. Sleep also has a factor. So that reduces your testosterone a lot. Strength. So it's almost like, I'm going to say it, like, I'm going to watch my F word, but it's almost like a cluster F of things that are really bad. Low testosterone, low sleep, low mood. So that's the sort of cause of why it's harder right now to lose weight than ever. And then you've also got the things of like modern society, of how easy it is to get a takeaway, and how the foods we eat nowadays as well are hyper processed and highly palatable as well.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it now, I've got a son, and one of the most important jobs I have in my life is to try and bring him up in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And if that's what's happened in my lifetime, again, I didn't realize it, the 1% drop. I have a responsibility to make sure that he doesn't go through that same thing, because I don't know what my testosterone level is, but I'm certainly I don't want to be part of that 1% drop, and I certainly don't want my son to be. So yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I suppose there's the obvious libido element as well of testosterone, which is
there's been studies on that recently too, because I was doing a little bit of research before today's talk, because I just thought it's quite an important one, I think, and I wanted to come in with actual like look, we know our stuff, but obviously things change all the time, don't they? So I wanted to get some, and we can share some links, some real like evidence. And yeah, it's true, they've done some studies, and male sperm count's lower than it's ever been as well, and we're also not having sex as much, and I think that can come into a lot of the environment as well, where we're maybe not as connected as we used to be. There's much more stimulations than ever before in terms of like phones, and we're just not as connected as we used to be, are we?
Yeah, and I think that that relationship in a couple, I think there can be a bit of a vicious circle. I'm not looking after my body, which means I'm not as confident as I would be taking my clothes off.
Yeah.
My libido is dropping because of that, and it can be a little bit of a vicious circle. And
I'm tired.
And the physical element of a relationship is I believe is to be very, very, very important.
100% intimacy, like whichever way you look at it, like whether that's actually the physical act of having sex or just like being close to someone and cuddling, it's important, because you need that, I think, to feel like you're actually a couple, because no one wants, I'm sure everyone's got enough friends, right? You have your partners because it's either you want the intimacy, don't you? It's natural. And that word's important as well. It's natural. So if you're not doing it, literally, you're not. Neither party's going to feel that great about themselves. And like you say, that vicious cycle continues.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, it's an important subject. But like you said a minute ago, it's not to say that you can't change things around, and it's not to say that you can't kind of make a difference. And again, I don't know if can you reverse a decline in testosterone?
Well, you can certainly improve it,
right?
And normally quite quickly as well. Like most things, you can. You can improve them. A bit like you've got type 2 diabetes, which is more prevalent than ever. But that, again, that's normally due to lifestyle factors. So a bit like low levels of testosterone, a bit like type 2 diabetes, you can reverse that and change it by making changes to your lifestyle. So things like getting really good sleep, absolutely fundamental. Resistance training, getting outside, seeing the sun, so then you get into a better rhythm of living. So when it comes to sleeping, you actually sleep and you get a good quality sleep, and your energy levels go up. And then you want to have sex with your wife, and you want to go to the gym, and you want to do all these things, and then your testosterone levels go up. Yeah. Without having
muscle mass,
a booster.
No, exactly, and I think sometimes there's a go to things a bit too soon. Like I am sure there is a benefit for some people to take supplements, specific supplements, and maybe there's a benefit to testosterone boosters. Again, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know, but I'm sure there are people it's beneficial to. But I think sometimes people go to these things as a first, as like, okay, I think my testosterone is low. Might not ever, I don't know. Again, may never have had it checked, but some guy has told me that I should take this thing, and I think there's so many more things you can do before that. Like you mentioned, a really good one is sleep. They were chatting on Radio 4 this morning about sleep, funnily enough, and how important it is, and how it's the missed element, I think, of health. And
sleep's huge.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most important things. And they were talking about time versus quality, and what is the benefit, what's the best one. And actually, they talked about lots of apps that people have for tracking. They said actually the number one indicator, or the number one thing for you to check for your sleep, is how you feel in the morning. Nothing to do with any app or anything like that. It's it's how you feel when you wake up in the morning.
You feel refreshed.
Yeah, and if you don't. Yeah, and if you don't, then that's more important. And actually, that's been scientifically backed up. That actually, that is the most important indicator how you feel about how you feel.
Yeah, because all the other apps and all the other things aren't inside your body, are they? They can't tell you, and that's probably the most important thing when it comes to a lot of things. There's all these external things we can turn to, but nobody knows how you feel, because you're you, aren't you? I can't know how you feel. You can't know how I feel. So you got to go to the individual and say, how are you feeling? Are you getting better sleep? Are you more energetic? It's a clear indicator that you're getting better sleep, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's really important.
They said if you're not falling, it said half an hour. So if you're not falling asleep in half an hour, there's something that needs to change.
Yeah.
And also a good point which I hadn't really thought of, is if you're getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym to be healthier, but you're going to bed at midnight after spending hours on your phone, it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, which is the phrase they used. Which actually is you're trying to be healthy, but actually a bigger thing to fix would be that sleep.
That's going to give you more return on your investment in it and payback, and especially in the long term. Maybe in the short term, you're going to be a bit tired, but you'll feel good because you're getting some gym sessions in. It's not going to be sustainable. Whereas if you sorted your sleep out, it's huge. Because there's a guy I listened to recently on Diary of CEO. I think the guy I can't remember the guy now. I don't want to say the wrong name, but basically the whole thing was about Martin Walker, I think his name was. The whole thing was about sleep. And when it comes to weight loss, if you're not sleeping well, again, you're pretty effed, because we produce these two hormones, leptin and ghrelin, and they basically send signals to our brain, and they don't work properly if you're not getting the right amount of sleep. So one of them tells you when you've eaten too much food, so it doesn't tell you when you've eaten too much food. And the other one regulates hunger, so it doesn't tell you if you're satisfied.
So PT scores in my brain. I think I remember these ones.
So those
two things, the hunger one.
Yeah, so those two things don't work. So then you crave higher fat foods, higher sugar foods, higher palatable foods, and it's just like really bad. So yeah, if you're taking anything from this podcast today, if you want to make a big shift, sort your sleep out. It'd be huge for you. Huge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it is that I said it's the often missed element of health and fitness. And I find myself and these things are really addictive. And I have come to accept over the years that this controls me more than I control it, and it's like it's like a really kind of irritating realization that I'm an adult, but this fucking piece of technology seems to control me more, and I have to put it away from me. And again, if I feel like a bit like I should be able to, as an adult, I should be able to do this better, but I put it away, out of reach, out of the way. So actually, for the time that I'm sat there winding down, I'm actually winding down rather than keeping myself kind of wound up at a level.
Yeah, that's one of my, I'm not going to say New Year's resolutions, but it's definitely been one of the things that I've wanted to work on, you know, being on my phone less. First of all, because I don't think it's very good and you're losing that connection. But second, I think it's so important when you're around people to be present. We all get I know this ain't necessarily on the subject, but I think it's really important because they all lead into each other. Like when you're with someone, you should be holding the conversation and being present, you know. And if we talk about that lack of connection, if you're having lunch with someone, you're on your phone all the time, you're probably not going to call them for lunch the next time because they're not great company, are they? You know, you want that connection with someone.
And these things are designed by people far more intelligent than you or I. They're designed for us to be engaged with them, and they're designed around human behavior and psychology,
basically.
Yeah,
and they're very good. Yes, they're very good at it as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, look, I think the other thing that's to look at is that everything we sort of have right now is at the touch of a fingertips as well. You know, your takeaways, even your movies. You know, we used to have attention spans and we used to have patience. So I think what we've lost now is that everything's easier in terms of getting food delivered, whether that's a takeaway or shopping, not having to wait. And we've lost the sort of like art of like patience, because when it comes to weight loss, patience is like your best friend, isn't it? Because it doesn't happen overnight and you have to be patient. So I think we've lost that because we don't have to be patient now, really. Like when you think of like, you know, there's very few areas where you have to be patient. Everything's quicker than ever. We can get places quicker than ever. There's so many options, isn't there, that we're just not patient. And that's a thing I think that people really struggle with, because the result doesn't happen straight away. And it's like, oh, well, this doesn't work.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to my children the other day about when I was, or my son particularly, when I was his age, we had 4 TV channels. And he was like, well, what was the children's channel? I was like, well, you had like 3:30 till 5 of children's TV.
Yeah.
And then you had Saturday morning. And he was like, what? I don't understand. So yeah, it's yeah, you're right. It's everything there is at a touch of a button. What are we gonna give people to do? What could we say?
So yeah, we'll definitely give you some you know, some stuff to take away. And I think just one last thing before we move on to that. I think what we also do, which is a bit of a struggle, that we don't necessarily accept responsibility that well, I don't think, as people. You know, I think we often say, well, it's because the gyms are closed, or because I'm stressed, or I'm busy. Whereas that relinquishes your own control, doesn't it? That's out of your control. And it's, you know, it's either accept responsibility and it's on me and I can make the changes, or you're basically being a bit of a victim. So I think, you know, if you're looking at losing weight and you're struggling, it's about, what can I do? What can I control? And things that aren't in your control, you've got to almost like try and let them go and go, do you know what? This is me. I've brought myself to this point. I've got to accept responsibility, because it's only me that's going to get me out of this as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose the control things are good. It'd be a good exercise for people to write those things down. If you are trying to lose weight and you seem to be struggling to get started or staying with it, make a note of what can I control in my life around this, and what can't I control. And if you, in an ideal world, you want to go to the gym in the morning, but you've got children, and you're saying, I can't do this exercise because of that, you can make a note, say, what can I can't control the fact I've got to sort my kids out in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bash that door. I'm going to try and, right, what can I control? I can
what's my solution?
Yeah. And if you can't do that, I don't know, maybe something like we mentioned about sleep. Believe us that actually, if you're not sleeping well, that is helping you. That is keep all the weight on. Maybe forget about the traditional way of doing it and actually think, do you know what? Michael and Tom said sleep is good for me, and take a little leap of faith and go, right, sort that sleep out. And I
don't
guarantee
even take a leap of faith. Like literally, don't even take a leap of faith. Just Google it, and that'll tell you exactly how important your sleep is. Like I feel like it's the most underrated thing going that we don't necessarily talk about, or people don't get a coach to help them, or listen to podcasts, or they almost like, I don't know if they accept it, or okay, I'll go and get a tablet for it. And that's not a long-term solution, because what they said as well on this podcast the other day, and people use alcohol as well, is that you don't actually sleep. It just sedates you. So you don't get rested. So you feel like you've slept, and you've slept and you've knocked yourself out for 7 or 8 hours, but you've not actually gone into like a REM sleep. So you're not actually getting the resting sleep. So that was quite eye-opening too. So you think alcohol's knocked you out a couple of drinks or something, or the sleeping tablets, but all it does is actually sedate you. You actually don't get the rested sleep.
Yeah, you don't get the quality.
No. All right. So I think we've covered sleep. If you're not getting it, sort it out. Huge. That'd make a huge difference. I think it's massive, especially if you're looking to lose weight and increase your testosterone, is to go and lift weights. Because we're not moving our bodies like we used to. We haven't got as many labor-intensive jobs. We're sitting here now, right? And I think lifting weights is going to increase your testosterone. Strength's massive as you get older. Our strength declines as we get older, and that brings on lots of health problems long term. So, yeah. Well, second one I'd say after sleep is like some form of resistance training.
Yeah. Well, muscle mass is one of the biggest indicators of early death. If your muscle mass is low, you die earlier, and that's science has told us all that. And and I'm pretty sure logically it makes sense that if you are, I don't know, say if you are weaker in later life, I mean, if you fall, we all know people that have had an injury, fallen over, damaged themselves, and they say, well, they broke their hip and then they declined. Part of that has to be
the biggest fear for people of the older population. That's the biggest fear. That's maybe why they don't necessarily want to go out. And what the thing is with that is when you're older and you don't want to go outside, you're just again bringing on that old age, aren't you? Because you're not doing the thing that's really important to do. You're not as strong, more likely to fall over, more likely to get an injury. And
I think strength sets you free. If you are strong and capable in life, you're better at doing everything. And I know from my experience that I feel more confident in my physical self because I know that I am physically strong and capable. So actually that it spiders out into different parts of your life. So learn how to do it properly. Don't bugger about doing bicep curls when you should be doing press ups and squats and pull ups or whatever. Let's talk about that a little bit then. Exercise wise, if you are going to lift weights in the gym, learn how to do it properly. Like get a PT who's going to show you how to squat properly. And if you could, squats and deadlifts, deadlifts probably the most kind of dangerous, potentially dangerous thing you can do in the gym.
High risk of injury,
when done badly, but they're one of the best things in the world. And again, if it's one of those exercises that if someone said you can only do one exercise the rest of your life, it's one of those exercises you go, right, I'm just going to lift heavy weights from the ground, up and down, and that will probably put you in good stead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't even have to be anything. And normally all these things aren't anything new or, I won't say exciting, but to me, to us, probably deadlifts are exciting. But, there's nothing new, really. Nothing really comes about. Things change and we learn more. But normally the fundamentals are the same. Get a good night's sleep. Move your body. Eat a healthy, balanced diet. If you did those 3 things consistently, day in, day out, then you are going to be in a much better place. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it basically said how we're all moving towards death. It sounds morbid, but it's true. Like, there's no getting away from that. And some of us are moving really fast, and some of us are moving really slow. So if you sleep well, if you get your nutrition in order and you move your body, you're going to start moving a lot slower than if you're not doing those three things.
Yeah, and there's ever the devil's in the implementation, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's that's a whole different subject there. How do we implement these, on the face of it, simple things?
Yeah, maybe we'll do that next. I think just one last thing to leave everyone on is that if you can look at areas where you can reduce stress, that's going to have a massive factor too, because that's going to affect your sleep quality. It's going to affect your energy levels. It's going to just affect your mood. So that's that you've got to try if you struggle to deal with stress, because stress is actually fine. It's how you deal with it, and we all have stresses in our lives. And they actually say if you feel like stress is a good thing, then you're much more better equipped to deal with it. If you think stress is bad, then you're not going to deal with it. So where can you look to reduce stress? And exercise is one of those, which is flipping great for reducing stress. Sleeping well, it's funny how all these things just go into one, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right. I feel that there's a lot of value given on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a like I say, we're in that age bracket, aren't we? 40s, where it's
Almost.
like a, yeah, it's like a, it's a, I suppose it's a turning point, and it's not a midlife crisis, but you're in the middle of life, and it's a matter of thinking about how do I want to be? Do I want to decline? Which again, I see people in life for whatever reason declining quicker than they should be, and then maybe I make a choice and go, I don't want to be one of those people, and I think like we always say, you're the best project you can work on ever.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, just to leave you with this, guys, that yes, it is getting harder, but there's certainly some things to do, and there's some strategies and some mindset work you can do, and things that you can implement that can really change it around, and also change it around really quickly as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. As always, any feedback, any shares, any likes, any questions? We love doing this, and we'd like to give as much value as possible. So if there's anything you want us to cover, then post in the comments, and we'll do it.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Right. Thanks.